allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. So we have a lot of public hearings that were put on the agenda at the last, the main meeting in June, early June, about a month ago. So I'm going to ask our village attorney to try and help go through these, and obviously I can augment any information. But Eileen, are you ready to go
Yes.
through these? Okay.
Well, let's open this first public hearing.
Oh,
right?
sorry. I will call a motion to open the first public hearing on local law amending chapters 97-35. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, so, local law, proposed local law number 21 of 2024 is a law amending chapter 97-35. That is essentially a change to the, our park fee requirements, to comply with state law. So we had an existing park fee law. Over time, it was challenged in court. After reviewing it, we determined that it wasn't in line with the requirements, completely in line with the requirements of the state village law. So we made some amendments. We also amended the calculation on how to calculate the park fee to make it more accurate also. And more,
it has to be
more
more
in
at the
line with what
discretion
was intended and
the
more
board.
clear to people about what it is.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay, so at this time, I will open the public hearing to the public if anyone wants to speak on this topic.
I can also sort of say that the law essentially, before the way it was written, it was mandatory, but state law does not allow
Says it
us to
has to
have
be
a
discretionary.
mandatory park fee, right? It has to be
And this
discretionary
gives
with the,
discretion to the planning
to the
board.
planning board. So
Yeah.
they'll determine first, do they require a park? Does this particular subdivision or whatever the application is require a park? And then they'll make a decision about what the park fee should be based on the calculation, if they decide that.
If they
need one.
decide it's necessary.
Or an alternative to one.
Right. Yeah. Sage, is there anyone on Zoom that wants to be heard on this? Okay, anyone on the board want to talk about this at all?
No, thank you.
And I
Okay,
don't think
it's
we
really very
received-
straightforward.
Yeah, we received no written comment
So
on it
at
either,
this
so.
time, I would like to make a motion to close this public hearing for local law number 21.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next one.
The next law, you should make the motion to open it again.
I'm sorry, I will make the motion
That's okay.
to open the public hearing of local law amending chapter 82-7 of the village code.
Okay,
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
okay, so this is a local law amending chapter 82-7 of the village code, general peace and good order, which specifically addresses bicycles on streets, vehicles on sidewalks, and skating in the business district in the village. So essentially what we're doing is amending that law really to update it and to take into account that there are electric bikes and electric scooters. And so that we'll regulate them the same way we do the skateboards and bicycles and et cetera on the streets and the sidewalks within the business district.
So,
So all we did was literally add the bicycle with electric assist as defined in New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, or an electric scooter as defined.
and I would
as
add that
defined.
this was a suggestion by our chief of police. Chief Hurto, do you want to add anything to this? Or just talk about the issues that your officers and TCOs are encountering on village streets?
We've been seeing an increase in electric bikes and scooters on Job's Lane and Main Street. As we all know, the business district is extremely crowded. It's more of a safety issue for the riders, so we thought it was a good idea to add the e-bikes and e-scooters and prohibit them from Main Street and Job's Lane.
Yeah, I think it's especially dangerous on Main Street where you have diagonal parking.
Correct.
And you have people backing up and they may not see a scooter coming down the street and obviously have a collision.
Correct,
What
yes.
is the consequence of if you're caught and given a citation?
Well, you're given a village code citation and they have to come to court and it gets adjudicated in court.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief. Is there anyone in the public that would like to be heard on this topic, this public hearing? Anyone no one online? All right, well then I will make a motion to close this public hearing for local law number 22 of 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right. You want to open the next public hearing?
I'm sorry.
That's
I will
okay.
open the next public hearing for local law amending chapter 110-43 of the Village Code. Do I have, I make a motion, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
All right, so this is a local law amending chapter 110-43 of the Southampton Village Code, Vehicles and Traffic, by updating and amending Schedule L, which has stopping, standing, and parking restrictions. It's rather lengthy. Essentially, we went through the entire, the parking in the village, throughout the village, and updated where it was necessary or recommended by either I guess the police or the mayor or somebody else.
Right, and the police, actually, I want to thank Chief Hurto for two of your dedicated officers, one sergeant, Dunkirk and Castle, for the amount of time and effort they put into this. They went to look at all of the village streets, cross-checked them with the village code to see what was in sync and what really needed to be updated. This, I don't think, has been done in decades, and it is way, way out of date. It still has, for example, on certain streets, 1 hour parking at certain times of the year, which we just do not do any of this anymore. So the code is inaccurate when it reflects what we're actually doing practically here in this village.
And
So
it will allow the DPW to update the signage so that the public is aware of what they're allowed to do and not do.
Right.
With respect to parking.
right. So at this time, I would open this public hearing. Again, we've opened it to the public. If anyone wants to come forward and speak on this. Sage? Anyone on the board here want to say anything? Okay, well then I will
Sir,
make.
you look like you might want to say something.
Oh, sure. I knew you looked like you wanted to talk. Please come to the podium. Actually, it'd be easier.
You just have to give your name too and address.
Yeah. Mike Zinder, 36 Pulaski Street. How are you?
Good.
So when you say, Chief, that you sent around officers to sort of look around and regular stuff, I'm just curious. There seems to be a lot of oddities if you walk around the village, as I do from time to time. So, for example, on my particular street, there's no parking at all for like the first 200 feet. And then there's no signage at all. And then there's some signage later on in the street that says parking only until the nighttime.
I know. So we tried to go through the whole code and get it clarified. And actually, the police went out and did this. And now DPW will have the signs that appropriately reflect
what's
what is in the
written.
code. So, for example, if there's a long gap with no signs, thank you for pointing that out. I think DPW should go and make sure that there is an adequate signage on that street to make sure that people know the traffic parking laws of that street for the entire length. There are some streets where we have no parking closer to the intersection. That's usually for safety reasons, so that there's a wider berth when someone makes a turn. But I
Yeah, this is
appreciate
for several hundred feet.
No, I
So,
appreciate your point. And actually, I think the chief has noted that, and her officers noted that there were several streets that actually had no appropriate signage. And so that needs to be corrected.
So if I wanted to get more detail, would the police department be the right people to
Well,
discuss
if
with?
you actually look at the code, you'll be able to see the actual, because Pulaski Street didn't change. So the law is the same now as it was prior to.
So there are
tonight's-
prior resolutions in effect as to?
There are prior laws.
Oh,
with
yes,
respect
yes.
to-
So
yeah.
if there was nothing found to be faulty
Inconsistent.
on your street or inconsistent on your street, then there's absolutely no change. But if you brought this now to our attention, that there is not enough signage, we certainly can have DPW add more
So it's
signage
DPW.
on that street. But I would actually ask the chief if she could look into that specifically with her officers. And because, again, you're supposed to have, there's a state code that says how frequently you're supposed to have the signs. So I think we need to look at that to make sure that we're adhering to that and that we have proper signage so that people know what is allowable and what is not allowable.
It
Okay,
looks like,
thank you.
it looks like 300 feet from
Of no
different
parking.
corners, yeah. So
Okay,
when you look
thanks.
at it-
Thank you very much. But thank you for bringing that to our attention. And I'm sure that chief will have her officers look into that specific street and then relay that to DPW if there's a gap. All right. Well, if there are no further comments, then I guess I would make a motion to, oh, sorry. Christine, come forward, please.
I just have a question whether you ever look at the hours that they might not need to be changed on the signs for the parking.
We did look at some of the hours. I mean, are you speaking specifically?
I was speaking of a street where near the school, that nobody now parks at 6 a.m. because the teachers all have the school parking for many years. Just mentioning, for it to start
Okay.
at 6.
So are you talking about Pine Street or which
No,
street
say
now?
that, Cameron.
Cameron Street?
Yeah. It
Um,
starts at 6 a.m.
Okay,
And the other things on the street that are commercial down at the end of the street don't wrap up till 4 in the morning. Just mention it. So there's nobody parking there. I mean, I think sometimes the people that work at Citarella, they come at 7 or something to park.
okay, are
But
you,
in other words, I'm just saying.
No, no, I
parking
understand.
hours
So-
seem, either it should be that anybody could park for 2 hours or whatever during the day.
well, that would be a big change because then that
No,
you're
I'm
saying
just
that it's restricted and we
suggesting
would
that
have
somebody
to
think
have the
about it in
police
the future.
enforce 2-hour
Because
parking
you
on
don't
that
need
street.
6 a.m. parking. If the school, I think, would imagine the history as a school.
I think you're correct. I think teachers used to arrive
Yeah,
early and
so
park
just
on that
something
street.
for the future.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And actually, I'm turning to the chief again. Chief, can you look into the area around the elementary school to see if we should have any further adjustments to the parking in that area? Obviously, I don't want to, I understand Cameron is in the, is really in the central business district, so I don't want to hurt some of the businesses there. But I understand that if it's, 5 in the morning, that probably no one is going to be there for a business because it's not going to be open at that time. So I think we can look into that. Chief, thank you. Okay, all right. Any other comments? Okay, well, with that then, I would ask for a motion I'll make the motion to close this public hearing for local law number 23 of 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. I will open the public hearing for a local law amending Chapter 21 of the Village Code, and I'll turn it over to our, do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
All right. So this local law is a local law amending Chapter 21, records, public access to, basically the FOIL statute, public access to records, to designate the village administrator as the one responsible to consider the FOIL appeals. Apparently, in the past, it was changed from the mayor to the Board of Trustees. The difficulty with that is the Board of Trustees only meet twice a month, and there are restrictions and requirements under state law on the timeliness of addressing FOIL appeals. So we were not able to do it timely when the entire board was making the decision. So this was the just changing it from the full Board of Trustees to the village administrator, addressed that issue, and also kept it out of, made it a little less political by having the village administrator do it as opposed to an elected official. So.
yeah, the idea behind this was to have a neutral, objective party review this in conjunction with the village attorney to make sure what was and was not permissible and required under FOIL, as opposed to having, again, an elected official make that call, which could be, in some instances, possibly arbitrary and not appropriate. So that was the reason for changing this to a village employee, here the village administrator. So I will open this now to the public if anyone wants to speak on this local law. Sage, anyone on Zoom? Okay, anyone on the board want to talk about this?
Is this something I can talk about now or
Yes.
later when?
No, now.
All right, I have some written comments. I have just a different point of view that you can consider. And I have some written comments. I would like to address the proposed amendment that seeks to change the FOIL appeals officer from the Board of Trustees to the village administrator. I'm cognizant that at one time the mayor alone was the FOIL appeals officer, and that a change was made a few years ago to include the whole Board of Trustees. I also understand that having the board as a FOIL appeals officer is more burdensome, but hopefully the cases of denial are few and far between. As a newly elected trustee who campaigned on a platform of transparency and openness, I believe that open government and the freedom of information are fundamental to good government. In 2024 alone, our village has received over 100 freedom of information requests. My experience with the village clerk for FOIL requests I made before being elected has been very positive. However, my understanding is that at times, FOIL requests are being denied by the village clerk. Sure, for good reason. When a resident, organization, or member of the press requests information and it is denied, an appeals process is necessary to evaluate whether the information should indeed be made public. It is crucial that the Board of Trustees remain the FOIL appeals officer, since we, as elected officials, are accountable to the people who elect us. If a resident or press believes that certain information should be made public and the denial is appealed, I want to be involved in that decision and have a voice as to whether that information should be released. While I will certainly consider the advice of our village attorney, the ultimate decision should rest with those directly accountable to the people. Our village administrator is undoubtedly capable and experienced in making the evaluation, particularly from his tenure in various police departments. However, he is not an elected official and should not be granted additional responsibilities that further distance decision-making away from public accountability. The board certainly has the authority to assign the village administrator as a FOIL appeals officer, but this change may be more significant than it might appear at first glance. Therefore, I urge my fellow board members to vote against this amendment, as it does not promote the transparency and openness in government that our residents deserve. Further, I think that we should also review the process, how FOILs are administered. There is nothing on our website that shows the timing, when they should get an answer, the reasons that they could be denied. I went and did some research and from other municipalities that they actually have posted online not only the form to make the application, but also form showing exactly why there would be a denial. And I think that could be helpful. So maybe at some other time, we can discuss how to make the process more transparent for people who want to go through a FOIL process. I think that would be very helpful.
Well, I think that's something that, Ed, you could work on with the village.
Well, I think we actually have it.
Attorney
I think we
and/or
actually
the
have
village
this
clerk.
online. You can make your FOIL request through our
Online portal.
our online portal, and it has the same information that I think that you're referring to there. It has all that information right there. When you click on it to open it up, you fill in the form,
Right.
you submit it, and it has all that information on, the basics about FOIL.
Right.
What's FOILable, what's not, why you might be denied, why you might get it, and et cetera.
But we
So,
can review it.
Sure,
I think
absolutely,
it may
yeah.
not be complete.
absolutely.
I mean, what's the technical reason with regard to timing that you mentioned at the start of?
Oh, so an appeal is supposed to be addressed within 10 days of receipt of the appeal. So this board doesn't meet every 10 days. So, the one.
We would have to call a special meeting, and
Correct.
unfortunately, we have run afoul of that on occasion because of the lack of frequency of meetings.
I mean, it's just always being untimely then. I don't think that's
I think
good
Ed
government.
makes some good points, but you come up against that issue. So,
Correct.
I mean,
Well, and I would point out to Ed that I voted for the changes
Yes.
when we went to having the full board do this. But now I'm realizing in practicality, it doesn't actually work because of the limited times that the board meets. We would literally have to call special meetings to address this. And I just don't think it's going to work in a practical way.
My opinion, if I may, is basically just the opposite of yours. I think we had experience when the mayor was the appeals officer, and it had some issues. And then now, with the full board having this responsibility, it also has issues. And I believe there should not be an elected official who does the FOIL appeals. It should not be an elected official because the conflict of interest appearance, if not in fact, is there. So I'm sorry to differ with you, but I have the exact opposite opinion.
Right, I understand if it's only the mayor, but when you have a full board, you really have various opinions that can be
Wow.
expressed, and also, it would be difficult that it'd be political for all 5 members. So I think, the point I'm making is that we have a responsibility to the public, and we can present the FOIL and the appeal in public transparent, open to everybody, and everybody can see why something is being rejected, or we can come back and say that we would actually want to approve it.
I don't know if it's necessarily appropriate that the whole board get involved in every FOIL appeal, but that's a different
Well,
matter
that's
again.
what's been happening up to now.
I know, and I think it's not working for
If-
other
Well,
reasons.
more importantly, it is the 10-day rule
Yeah, it's a
issue. You would
10-day
have to
it's a
make
10-day deadline.
Yeah,
It's
you'd have
very
to make
difficult to
another
meet.
provision for meetings so that we could address it. So it's not fair to be always untimely.
If I may, I'd like to direct this question to our attorney as a check. As an elected official, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you do have the ability and the right to review. It's completely open to you. I feel as though you expressed that you would not have that, but as an elected official, you most certainly do. And if you have any questions, you can certainly refer it and converse with our attorney. So it is completely transparent and you are open to review that. So
Right, but not
I
in
understand that you are new in this position. We welcome you and we're here to help you transition into this. And sometimes we just need to, as you are looking at things, to make things clear of the process and your rights for viewing certain things. And we want to be clear with that for you. Okay? Thank you.
All right, are there any other comments? Sheila?
Sheila Pfeiffer, 56 Hildreth Street. I'm just curious now that this has been opened up. If someone is denied their FOIL request, what is their redress? What action can they take to,
The appeals process would be then to appeal to the village administrator, whomever that may be, and have the appeal reviewed.
okay, so you're going to appeal to the same person who refused you?
No, 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 right now it's the clerk.
So the clerk is
Oh,
the FOIL officer.
Right,
and
but
then
I'm
you-
talking about if it's changed to the administrator.
No, he's
No, no, no,
not
no,
the
no.
FOIL officer. He's only the appeals
The-
officer.
So the first
Sorry,
FOIL
I
comes to the
misunderstood.
clerk, and if they want to appeal the clerk's decision, then they appeal to the administrator. It's a different person.
Okay,
But-
thank you.
but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, if I may also respond to that, it would not be done in public. That is, would be in the enclosed situation that you really do not have transparency of why something is being rejected on appeal as well. So that's why I think that it's good that it's on the board so that it is in public and you know exactly why something is being rejected or approved. And it's also going to be memorialized in the minutes and something that can be referred to. Whereas if it's with the village administrator, it's going to be completely in private.
no, I don't think that's correct, Mr. Simeone.
all right.
I would imagine the village administrator would do a written response the same way that the village clerk does on the initial. So there's absolutely going to be a record, especially since the person can then challenge that. They could bring an Article 78 and challenge the decision in court if that's what they want to do. So there's absolutely going to be a record of what happens. He doesn't get to go behind closed doors and make a secret decision that no one hears about. Everyone's going to know about it that wants to.
Is there anyone else, I thought, in the audience that had a hand? Yes, please, sir.
Is this working? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a thought for food for thought. As a possible compromise, given the burdens of having the entire trustee group meet to have some kind of appeal process, I don't know if you guys have ever done something like this, but is it possible to have like an executive committee or some subcommittee that's put in charge of this? So it's not all 5 of you have to be it, but it could be, you could do it a lot of ways. One could be any group of 3 that's available, or you could have a standing committee. But just so that somebody doesn't feel overly burdened, that in addition to all the other work you have to do, that you guys would also have to meet to appeal for the appeals and all these things. But if you had some subcommittee that was charged with that, that might be a middle ground, and that they could meet more often than.
Well, when you have 3 or more, when you had 3 members of the board, it would be subject to open meetings law. We'd have to advertise the meeting. It would be a meeting of the Board of Trustees anyway, which is what they're trying to avoid, extra meetings.
Okay, I was just thought they were
Yeah.
trying to avoid extra meetings for all 5. This would be a subgroup.
I don't think it's about the amount of work.
No.
Yeah.
It's,
You have to notice it. You
it's
have to-
just that the laws that we must comply with then to have 3 or more members of the board meeting at one time. It has to be in an open session with notice in the paper and the whole thing. And so if there were something that were to come up, we would have to call a special meeting very quickly so that we don't run afoul of the 10-day limit within which we must respond.
Okay, just a thought.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's very, very, very helpful. I appreciate your comments.
And my last comment is on this is going back. I do understand this proposed law, and I'm strongly advocating that the Board of Trustees be responsible for making the decisions on FOIL appeals. It is important to vote on these matters rather than having these decisions made behind closed doors by the village administrator. You may put it in writing, but it's not an open session with the public and the persons that also making the appeal.
Well, the person that making the appeal though would get the response
Right.
in writing, and actually, I would think actually the response might be foilable by somebody else.
I'm sure it would be, yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, if there are no further comments, I'm going to make a motion to close this public hearing. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. I will now open local law amending Chapter 77 of the Village Code. This is the portion of the code that pertains to noise.
Okay, this is a local law amending Chapter 77 of the Village Code, which is the noise section, to restrict amplified sound after 11 p.m. and provide a limited exception for certain special events. So this time frame it applies to essentially to residential districts, I think. And it, you can see Chapter 77-2, Subdivision B, basically says non-commercial amplified sound is allowed between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. So that means after 11 p.m. and before 9 a.m. At a non-commercial establishment like a house, in a residence, that you must turn off the amplified sound. So that's the only, I think it was my understanding that the board believed that was the code. It just wasn't in black and white in the code, so they wanted to add it to the code, right?
Yeah.
So, and then we did make an exception that the board.
For special
Right,
events.
for a wedding, if you were going to have a wedding or something at your home, you could apply for a special exception for the amplified sound for that one particular event.
Right, so that
So-
not to preclude someone from having, a special event at their home, if it was, again, a wedding anniversary, some sort of, milestone party, that we would be able to grant an exception beyond the 11 p.m. curfew, if you will. So I will ask the public if they have comments on this. Christine?
Just give your name for the
Christine.
address.
Christine Wicker.
Yeah, he has to be able to record it and hear it.
Christine Wicker.
You hear that?
Cameron Street.
And your address?
Cameron Street.
Cameron Street.
Cameron Street, okay.
Okay, so amplified sound, you're talking about music, is that it?
Music that's amplified.
Just music?
It doesn't have to be music. No, it could be someone
could be
talking
anything.
on a
Right.
PA system.
Right, but
Yeah.
it has to be, the noise has to be amplified by an artificial means.
Correct.
That's what
Artificial.
That's what amplified is. Yelling is not amplified
Either
sound.
you have an amplifier or some type of device to make
You
the
should
noise
still-
louder.
Yeah, tell them what you think.
I was telling Eileen just before the meeting started that, I don't know. Some nights ago, I can't even remember, they're all mixing up, but anyway, 2 in the morning, I mean, we don't go to sleep early, but still, it's a residential street, Cameron Street, I'm sorry, because there are residential houses that are historic there. But, I mean, we're MF 20 technically, but that is residential zoning.
That's residential.
It is residential zoning, but we seem to have more of the commercial impacting. But in any case, at 2 in the morning, I heard like kids outside, teenagers or whatever, and I looked out the window, and they were lying in the street. They're doing something with their phone. So I waited about 10 minutes, thought maybe they'd disappear. And they didn't. So I just went out and I said, what are you doing? I mean, it's 2 in the morning or whatever, it was 2:10. And they said, we're just waiting for an Uber. I mean, frankly, they shouldn't be waiting in front of people's residential houses for Ubers if that's not where they are coming from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They weren't coming from there. I won't go into where.
No. I understand. No, I appreciate that.
So I don't know if there's any way to sort of be because the establishments, so you close the outdoor sidewalk dining at midnight.
Right.
The restaurants.
Well, I would ask the chief, do we have a loitering law? Would that run afoul of a loitering law?
No, but I would encourage you to call the police department. I wouldn't go out there, because you're not bothering us.
Well, I can tell their kids, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, people lying in the street, actually, that's very dangerous, because if a car came down and they weren't seeing clearly, they could actually run somebody over.
Or something, selfies, who knows what.
Yeah,
They should be waiting for
They shouldn't be waiting, exactly, they shouldn't be waiting for a reservation house.
Right, which is why if you call us, we'll move them back to
I
that
know, I
area.
didn't want to bother you.
You're not bothering us.
If I could.
all right, thank you, Christine. Anyone else in the audience? Oh, Jay, please.
Jay Fitzpatrick, Southampton, 243 Elm Street. Every time I hear the word amplified, I get a little bit nervous. And I really don't understand this whole thing, how it came about and why. And maybe it's good and maybe it's not. So there was nothing in that I could find in the code that had anything like this before. If amplified sound could be throughout the village to 3 o'clock in the morning and you're pushing it back to 11, that would be good. But I don't see anything in there like that. So how did this come about? And there's no amplified sound allowed outside in any commercial establishment. It's just in the code. You can't have that.
Right.
So we're talking about amplified sound inside, and are we talking about commercial or residential?
It says except it's the way the language is written, it's non-commercial amplified sound. That's what it's addressing.
So
since
this
it
would be
wasn't
someone who decides to have a party at their home and they've got the stereo out by the pool and they're playing it really loudly at 2 a.m.
Okay.
That's the issue that we're trying to address.
Okay.
And that does happen in the village. Yeah.
All right, so, but it has nothing to do with
No, commercial.
commercial.
Sorry.
No, this is not pertaining to commercial.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to guess I'll call off my party tomorrow night.
You can get a special exception if you want one, Jay. You can get a special exception if you'd like one, Jay. No, so anyway, anyone else? Sage, anyone else on Zoom? Okay, then I would ask anyone on the village board have any comments before I go to close this public hearing. Okay, I'll make a motion to close this public hearing of local law number 25 of 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll go on and open now a local law amending Article 3 of the Village Code. And I will turn to, again, our able village attorney.
Okay, this is a local law amending Article 3 of the Village Code, which addresses the responsibilities of the village administrator by amending the powers and duties contained under Section 3-12 of the Village Code. Just so we're specific, under there, all we did was clarify the language, really. So the new language, it's going to read, if so designated by the mayor in accordance with Section 5-500 of the village law, it's pertaining to the village administrator, will serve as the budget officer and prepare a tentative budget for consideration by the Board of Trustees. So that was always intended to be the law, the way it was written. I don't think it apparently caused some confusion among people who thought it was mandatory that the village administrator be the budget officer. So we amended it to make it clear that if the mayor decides, he has the power under 5-500 of the village law. He is the budget officer unless he designates it to somebody else. So that's all we did, was clarify it, that you have the power to
Right, because
designate the village administrator
it
if you
seemed to
choose.
be unclear
Right.
as to who had these powers. But again, as the attorney has said, it's actually up to the mayor who he wants to designate, if he wants to designate a specific budget officer.
Right.
So,
The way the code was written before said, one of the responsibilities was prepare annually a tentative budget for consideration by the board, blah, 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 when designated by the mayor. So it really says the same thing, but it makes it clear that he only does this if he's designated by the mayor or she,
whatever the case may be.
whatever it is. Right?
Yeah. So I'll ask the public if they have comments on this. Anyone on Zoom, Sage? Anyone on the village board want to address this?
As usual, I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead, trustee Simeon.
Apologize, and although I also, well, the position of village administrator has been central to village governance, and this role has been crucial in maintaining the financial health and operational efficiency of our village. The current village code, in my opinion, clearly states that the village administrator will prepare annually a tentative budget for consideration by the Board of Trustees and serve as a budget officer when so designated by the mayor. So it's really in two parts. This proposed amendment removes the responsibility from the village code and allows it only when designated by the mayor, while transferring the responsibility for preparing the budget to the treasurer.
Well, it's to whomever the
whomever.
mayor decides
Right, but the
he or
treasurer
she
is
would like to
probably-
have as the budget officer.
But the treasurer is probably the most likely.
It's like,
This removes a major responsibility from the village administrator, who should have substantial municipal and financial experience. While we have a qualified and competent treasurer, to me, it does not make sense to entirely remove the budget preparation responsibility from the village administrator. That's my comment.
okay.
I don't want to forget that you did all receive a copy of we did get some public comment on it in the form of a letter dated, or an email dated July 11th, 2024. It's being, by David Rung, it's being made a part of the record for this public hearing, and you each received a copy
Yeah.
of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else on the board have a comment on this? Okay, well, with that, I would like to make a motion to close this public hearing on local law number 26 of 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the final opening of a local law, I will make the motion, which is amending chapter 116-24 of the village code. This pertains to the Village Board of Zoning Appeals and their organization and general procedure. So I will turn to our attorney to explain the changes that are contained in here.
Okay, this is a public hearing to consider a local law amending chapter 116-24 of the Southampton Village Code, which addresses the Zoning Board of Appeals and their procedures to amend the process for issuing ZBA decisions. This was recommended to the board by the attorney for the Zoning Board of Appeals. And essentially what this does is allows the Zoning Board of Appeals to issue what I guess we will call a short form order in lieu of a lengthy decision. So this would be, I think, directed to non-controversial or applications where everyone's essentially in agreement that it's okay to grant this, et cetera. They would issue a short form order. The applicant and anybody aggrieved by the decision, so anybody who would have legal standing to challenge the decision, would have the right within the first 30 days to ask for a long form decision, a more detailed decision, and then the board would give it. And then that would start the clock on their appeal once they received that, the long form decision. So it's essentially to maybe save the village some money, because the outside counsel for the Zoning Board of Appeals is spending a lot of time writing decisions, and this was one way to maybe short circuit that process.
And to
a
make
little
the
bit.
process more efficient.
Correct.
If
And maybe
it's-
we can make the time people are spending in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals a little bit shorter by doing so. So just for the record too, we did get a letter from an attorney, which was made part of the public record. I know we're going to keep this public hearing open because we're still waiting to hear back from the Planning Commission. But there's a letter in your file from John Bennett. He's just asking us to add some words. The law makes clear, I think, that in section E,
It says for all
it
purposes.
says for all purposes, and he wants us to add language that says including Article 78. So
But
it's
wouldn't
talking
that be
about the time
wouldn't that be included for all
Yes,
purposes?
Everything is included. Included for all purposes means exactly what it says, included for all purposes. That's what this board intended, so. And,
Yeah, I
you know,
don't
he
think
obviously
that's
had
vague.
his opinion on it, so you might want to take a look at that before you vote.
Well, yes,
Same
I
as the other
understand. And I appreciate that, although I think this will speed the process up. I don't see how he can argue that this is going to slow the process down. Obviously, if this is up to also the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. If they wish to request a long-form version, they can do so at any time.
Absolutely.
They don't have to have a short form version. If, again, they want to request a long form version, they can go ahead and do that. So again, I don't see how this is actually going to delay the process. I think this is going to make the process go faster.
And no one's, interested in prolonging that process.
No.
So if we find out that it is delaying it, and the zoning board feels like it's delaying it further, then we can go back and make an amendment.
So, again, I would like to ask if anyone in the public would like to comment on this. Is there anyone on Zoom, Sage? Okay. Anyone on the board would like to comment on this? Okay, and I am actually, as the attorney said, I'm going to close the public hearing, but have it remain open for written comment only for 10 days in case we get any more comments from attorneys or others in this regard. And as the attorney also said, we have to wait to get approval from Suffolk County before we could enact this law. And that has not come yet. We have applied for it. We are waiting for that. So this will be, again, held for longer, but for written comment only. So if anyone has comments, they can certainly submit more in writing that will be reviewed prior to any action being taken on this proposed legislation.
So you need a motion to that effect.
So I will make a motion then to keep this open for written comment only for 10 days, close the public comment, and I'm looking for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, we got through those.
It's a lot.
Now we're opening this to public comment on any other issues aside from the ones that we have just gone through. And the reason why we're doing it separately is in order to be part of the public record, you must speak during the public hearing on the specific issue. Regular public comment does not count towards anything with the public hearing. So we think it's easier to do the public hearings and then ask the public for any other comments they may have. So Sheila, you look like you're ready. Please come forward.
I apologize ahead of time. I have a family commitment and I have to leave right after I speak. So it's no comment on the fascinating nature of this meeting. Sheila Pfeiffer, 56 Hildreth Street. I am co-chair of the Environment and Sustainability Committee, but I am not here because of that. I know Robin will give a good report when she talks at the end of this meeting, but I'm here as a private citizen because I am really concerned, and I want to bring it to the public's attention and to the board's attention, that we are not treating our trees in this village very well. There is a lot of clear cutting of lots going on. I don't understand. I can't get to the bottom of it by calling agencies. I'm not trying to point fingers at anyone, but I don't know who controls that. The building department says it's the land use boards. The land use boards, I don't know. I don't know if anyone ever goes and looks. They said they could only cut one tree down, but look, they cut 10 down. Now, this was brought on because recently on Layton Avenue, a lot that had a lot of trees on it, and I understand I'm sure they're gonna take the whole house down and build a huge house. But there was one gorgeous, huge tree right on the property line that was just magnificent. And it's close zoning. I live right around the corner. It's 10 feet off the line, but the trunk of the tree wasn't more than 10 feet. So there's no way it could have interfered with
Right.
a building. And yet it was completely decimated. So it's too late for that lot. It's too late for a lot of lots. But we started to have a tree law in this village, and then I don't know what happened.
Well, the tree law, you're correct, but unfortunately, it only applies to public property and the
Well-
village right-of-way and not private property. But actually, Sheila, we are going to look at this because this has become obviously an issue, and I appreciate you bringing it to the public's attention.
There was a law that was being proposed probably 5 years ago when we first came back, that it
Right.
did involve private
That's
land.
correct.
Which was why it was controversial, because
Right.
no one wanted someone telling them they couldn't cut a tree down.
Right.
But I think the land use boards need to figure out a way
Yep.
that when someone applies for the permission to knock everything down and build a new house,
Yep.
that there's some kind of supervision and some kind of care taken about this.
So I have
It's-
actually asked the Planning Commission to look into this very issue. And Christian Pico, the new chair of the Planning Commission, is here, as is Michelle Brogard, a member of the Planning Commission. So they are
Okay,
going
good.
to work on this and make a recommendation to this board so that we can enact legislation to try and restrict the
Good.
full clear cutting of properties.
Let's do it fast.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sheila, and hope you get to your family event. Thank you. Christian, would you like to come forward and maybe address that issue? I know this is an issue that's near and dear to your heart, and being involved with
Sheila,
the
I
tree
know you're going to
committee.
leave quickly, but just to let you know that we are going to have a public session on July 18th at 5:30 in this room. There will be a planning commission meeting, and that is one of the subjects that we're going to be covering. You'll see the agenda that we will post on Monday for that meeting, which includes reviewing both public and private tree legislation proposals. And we'd love to have you part of that discussion. We want the public to opine on how to think about private tree legislation beyond the page 94 of the master plan, which talks about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila, and thank you, Mr. Pico. Any other public comments, Sage? Is there anyone on Zoom?
Jay Fitzpatrick?
Oh, did you, Jay, want to speak again?
I just wanted to clarify.
Please sit up.
And I think you did clarify it. That Article 6 about the amplified music,
Yes.
I can't find it anywhere here that it says residential. But you,
It's a non-commercial,
okay.
so that's where, when I said residential, that's, I guess maybe I shouldn't have said that, it wasn't accurate, but it's non-commercial amplified sound.
And that will be in the law.
That's in the law, yes.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
show you a copy if you want. If
Okay.
you hang out for a minute, okay, thanks.
That means you got to wait for the end of the meeting.
I'll give it to him.
Sage, do you have anyone on Zoom that would like to speak? Okay, then I guess we've gone through public comments, so we'll go to suggested resolutions. Len, why don't you take the first one, the warrant?
Number one,
Please.
Resolve the claims for the warrant dated July 11th, 2024, totaling $843,029.59. A6 General, $116,649.11. H2 Capital, $1,116. CS2 CS Trust, $8,591.62. A7 Payables, $11,977.19. T3 Trust, and $20,366.37. A8 Utilities are audited and approved. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Now I think we're going to turn to Eileen to help us with all the local laws.
Yes. Number 2 is local law number 21 of 2024. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering a local law amending Chapter 97-35 subdivision of land, design standards, and land use to comply with state law, and whereas a public hearing was held by the village board on July 11th, 2024, at which time all persons either for or against the amendment were heard, and whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton has determined that this proposed local law is considered a Type 2 action under 6 New York Code of Rules and Regulations, Part 617.5, provisions of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and that no further review under SECRA is necessary. Now therefore be it resolved that local law number 21 of 2024 is hereby adopted. That would be your motion.
Yeah, I will make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Okay, this number 3 is local law number 22 of 2024. This was the e-bike law. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering a local law amending Chapter 82-7 of the Village Code, General Peace and Good Order, bicycles on streets, vehicles on sidewalks, and skating by adding electric assist bicycles and electric scooters. And whereas a public hearing was held by the Village Board on July 11th, 2024, at which time all persons either for or against the amendment were heard, now therefore be it resolved that the local law number 22 of 2024 is hereby adopted.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Number 4 is local law number 23 of 2024. This is the, basically the parking schedule. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering a local law amending Chapter 110-43 of the Village Code, Vehicles and Traffic, by updating and amending Schedule L, stopping, standing, and parking restrictions. And whereas a public hearing was held by the Village Board on July 11th, 2024, at which time all persons either for or against said amendment were heard. Now therefore be it resolved that local law number 23 of 2024 is hereby approved and adopted.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay.
Number 5 is whereas the Board of, this is local law number 24, and this is the village administrator being the FOIL appeals officer. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering amending Chapter 21, Records Public Access to designate the village administrator as the one responsible to consider FOIL appeals. And whereas a public hearing was held by the Village Board on July 11th, 2024, at which time all persons either for or against the amendment were heard. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton has determined that this proposed local law is considered a Type 2 action under 6 New York Code of Rules and Regulations, Part 617.5, which are provisions of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and that no further review under New York Environmental Conservation Law, Article 8, is necessary. Now therefore be it resolved that local law number 24 of 2024 is hereby adopted. That's your motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Number 6.
Number 6, this is local law number 25 of 2024. This has to do with the restricting the amplified sound after 11 p.m. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering a local law amending Chapter 77 of the Village Code to restrict amplified sound after 11 p.m. and provide a limited exception for certain special events. And whereas a public hearing was held by the Village Board on July 11th, 2024, at which time all persons either for or against said amendment were heard. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton has determined that this proposed local law is considered a Type 2 action under 6 New York Code of Rules and Regulations, Part 617.5, provisions of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and that no further review under the New York Environmental Conservation Law, Article 8, is necessary. Now therefore be it resolved that local law number 25 of 2024 is hereby adopted. That's your motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Number 7 is refers to local law number 26 of 2024, which is amending the village administrator budget officer language to make it more clear. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton is considering a local law amending Article 3 of the Village Code, Village Administrator, by amending powers and duties under Section 3-12, and whereas a public hearing was held by the Village Board on July 11th, 2024, at which time all persons either for or against that amendment were heard, now therefore be it resolved that local law number 26 of 2024 is hereby adopted. That's your motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, Len.
Number 8, pursuant to New York State Village Law, Section 5-502, the mayor hereby designates the village treasurer to serve as the budget officer for the village.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Number 9, whereas the Village Board of Trustees has previously adopted a fund balance policy acknowledging its authority to commit, assign, or evaluate existing fund balance classifications and identify the intended uses of committed or assigned funds. And whereas the Village Board of Trustees is determined to earmark an unassigned fund balance for a particular purpose as the assigned fund balance, and now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby assigns $25,000 of its general fund fiscal year end May 31, 2024 balance for the particular purpose of legal contract negotiation. So moved.
I'll second. All in
Discussion, what's
Yeah.
this about?
This is to be able to pay the attorneys that are involved in contracts with various unions in the village.
And we did not have this funds allocated in the previously designated budget accounts?
We did not anticipate what we might incur for contract negotiations.
So is
It's
this
all
an-
about timing, Roy. It's all about timing.
So it's not an overage, it's just that the money wasn't in the place where it needed
Correct.
to be at the
Correct.
right time.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yep.
moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
10, whereas the Village Board of Trustees has moved unassigned funds into assigned funds for the purpose of legal contract negotiation, and now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendment. Increase appropriation of Reserve A1775 in the amount of $25,000. Increase legal contract negotiation A1420.445 in the amount of $25,000. So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the request of Matthew Weeks, Cooper Speech Manager, the following employee updates. Max Greenwald, an increase $1 per hour, effective July 12, 2024, as newly appointed Assistant Manager. Hudson Fox and Ralph Carball, start date adjusted to start on July 4th to provide additional operational support during the holiday. May I get a second?
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I now have two supplementals that I would like to enter for appointments. So I'm asking for a second to move these forward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Anthony, why don't you take these?
Yes, sir. Mayor Manger appoints and requests a motion for the Board of Trustees to approve the following positions. Planning Commission, Jacob H. Yahayan, with a term expiring June 30th, 2027. Zoning Board of Appeals, Linda Munn, with a term expiring June 30th, 2027.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Next motion is be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby appoints Brian Stolar, Esquire of Harris Beach LLP, to represent the Village of Southampton Zoning Board of Appeals in the matter of 1377 Meadow Lane versus the Village of Southampton. Actually, that's incorrect. It should say in the matter of Stephen Hickey. That is the address of the property. I'm sorry. Okay. So I'm just going to amend that. Stephen Hickey versus the Village of Southampton Zoning Board of Appeals, filed in the New York State Supreme Court, Suffolk County, under index number 616353 of 2024. Said appointment shall be in accordance with the retainer agreement already on file. That's your motion.
Okay, I will make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we will go to comments from board members, and we will start with Trustee Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. I'd like to yield some of my time to our village administrator. I had the pleasure of introducing him to our committee, the Environmental and Sustainable Committee, and it was quite an interesting and productive meeting that we had. He's going to go into a little bit more detail as far as what the village is doing to make sure that we are doing our very best to improve our environment, sustainability, lower our zero in footprint on. I'm at a loss for words right now. I'm sorry. Thank you. I was. Thank you very much. So I'm going to yield some time to him to go into the meeting. And we were so enjoyed you so very much. Thank you for attending.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Brown. And first and foremost, thank you for really re-energizing this committee, the Environment and Sustainability Committee. We actually had our first kickoff meeting yesterday, and we discussed a lot of the projects that we're going to be working on. We currently have our application pending with the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. And what that does is they work with us with the clean energy and climate smart communities. And they establish a series of points that enable us to receive funding here in the village for various different projects that we choose to undertake in collaboration with all of the residents and our elected officials. So it's really a a group project that involves everybody in the community. And as we start moving forward and we really start building some momentum with this project, I'm really looking forward to really taking on some of these initiatives as we move forward. And some of them we've already done.
Yes.
And we're going to actually receive the points for some of the initiatives that we've already undertaken. And I think we can go back 3 years, back all the way to when we first did a resolution back in 2022, naming Southampton Village a climate smart community.
Yes. And we're quite excited about that. That will yield points. Points will turn into money, and it's all a good thing. And then the future, we can look at also applying for some grants. So we have Nicole Christian also aligned with us and our committee, and I want to just extend a thank you to the committee. They are so dedicated and driven. It's a pleasure working for them. They're extremely focused, and they take great pride in their village, and we want to just say thank you so very much.
Trustee Brown, did you want to also bring up Cooper's Beach?
Cooper's Beach, absolutely. Cooper's Beach, we had a filming this morning with News 12, and we're quite excited that we've been recognized by the public, that we feel as though we're the #1 beach. Some say we're #2 in the United States, but it was such a pleasure that we were recognized and being able to tell the people what all the amenities that we have. Not only are our waters clean and healthy, our marine life, not our sand is pristine, and things are kept in such an enjoyable nature, with being able to have rentals of affordable chairs and tables and families to enjoy. But it was just a lovely, lovely time to let the public know and to invite them to be in our village and enjoy Cooper's Beach. And the mayor was with me, my wingman. We had a very good time, and we're quite excited about that.
And did you want to bring up anything about further purchases down at Cooper's?
I'd be delighted to talk about that, Mr. Mayor. I am proposing to the board that we would elevate our experience at Cooper's, and that we would have cabanas. Cabanas are lovely for family, keeping the children in a safe environment, having them not so much yielding too much of the sun. It's also a wonderful way to just enjoy your family together in one location. And then we will be working with our partner as far as food service over there. We have amped up our Wi-Fi system, which is going to give better Wi-Fi reception around, and also extending over to our booth that will, because we are now cashless, and also improve the service for our partner. So I'm quite excited that the mayor asked me to talk about that, and I will be sharing further with our board, and hope that my board will support me on this endeavor. It is an investment, and I will let my money man take a further look at that, and we will yield it back, I'm confident, in this year time, and yield and go into profit. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. We'll go to Trustee Simeoni.
Thank you. As I look forward to my role as village trustee, this is an initiative I'd like to bring to the board's attention. I would like to propose a policy ensuring that a draft version of the agenda is posted on the village website no later than 72 hours before our meetings. Recently, many agendas have been made available to the public less than 24 hours in advance. While I understand not every item will make it into the first draft, multiple drafts can be posted online to ensure transparency. At the next board meeting, I will prepare a resolution requiring the clerk to post the agenda at least 72 hours in advance. This will provide additional clarity and transparency for our residents and the press. Before I conclude, I'd like to end on a lighter note. For all Southampton residents, the Hamptons Greek Festival is happening this weekend, July 14th through the 17th at the Greek Church. There will be great food, dancing, and other fun activities. Additionally, as a liaison to the Southampton Cultural Center, I wanted to let everyone know about a few fun activities. First, on Friday, July 12th and Saturday, July 13th at 8 p.m., there's a U2 Decades concert. It's the U2 concert experience featuring songs from 4 decades of U2 hits. Any U2 fans out there, like myself, will find this to be a fantastic concert. Then on Monday, July 15th, is the Piano Fest concert. Tickets for both events can be purchased online at the Cultural Center's website. I want to thank the team at the Cultural Center and its board for organizing these events, as well as the New York State Council for the Arts for supporting some of the programs at the Southampton Cultural Center. Thank you again.
Thank you, Trustee Simeoni. We will go to Trustee Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A week ago on the 4th of July, I, along with my fellow trustees, Ed, you were missed. I understand you had another very important engagement, but I had the great pleasure and honor of marching in the village's 4th of July parade. And for me, it was, it's the highlight of the year. It's like basically getting an injection of red, white, and blue into your system. There's so much negativity in the news, political negativity, just so many things that you read about that are terrible. And you walk down that street and you see all the kids waving their flags and the parades and the floats and the bands, and it really is just wonderful. I did not shake as many hands or kiss as many babies as the mayor did, but I tell you, I enjoyed it as much as he did, for sure. Now, the thing is, this event does not happen by itself. It's the oldest and largest 4th of July parade on Long Island, but I want to thank the committee that puts this parade together every year and does a fantastic job. It's headed up by Bob Grisnick, and it includes Mark Epley, Bill Jones, Robert Gill, Susan Steinke, and Kat Styler. And they do a fantastic job. And the other thing that happens is that parade doesn't go on for free either. The people who put the floats in pay a little bit. And as you noted, if you were at the parade, there were golf carts moving up and down, collecting donations from the people who were watching it. But I encourage anybody else who's listening to this, if you weren't able to make a donation on the day, it still could be accepted. I'm sure Mr. Grisnick would take it at South Thrifty Drugs, or if you brought it to the front desk here at Village Hall, we would gladly take it and pass it on to them to make sure that next year's parade is even better than this one. So thanks to all. God bless the United States for such a beautiful day and a celebration of our independence. Thank you.
Thank you, and don't forget Lisa McWilliams either. She was very involved.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes.
All right, so thank you, Trustee Stevenson. Now, Trustee Zananti.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustee Stevenson, here on your comments for the July 4th parade. That was very well put, and thanks to everybody who organized it. Just briefly, the resolutions regulating the electric bikes and the electric scooters and the noise control after 11 p.m. are important quality of life initiatives to help us mitigate conditions that really are public safety and nuisance situations. I know from firsthand experience that these will help make the village safer and more enjoyable. Also, and lastly, on June 26th, the Southampton Town Traffic Task Force met. I attended the meeting with Mayor Manger, who's part of the task force, and heard firsthand the ideas that are being discussed by the town, county, and the MTA through the LIRR to help mitigate the traffic issues that we have locally. I was encouraged by some of the out-of-the-box thinking and ideas of those participants, as well as some of the local residents. I intend to follow the task force's progress with the mayor to hopefully see some implementation of ways to ease the traffic problem that we have. I can say, however, that there is no immediate or magic solution that can be implemented to help the village residents without regional help. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Trustee Zananti. And I would just like to say that, yeah, Jay Fitzpatrick, who's here tonight, came in with some excellent ideas, out-of-the-box ideas for how we can help mitigate traffic. The idea that I liked especially, and I saw Ed Romaine last night and spoke to him about it, was using the PSEG right-of-way, which is a 60-foot wide right-of-way that follows the high-tension wires. And again, the idea of burying those wires and having a limited access highway built on top of the right-of-way. That would really be an amazing improvement, especially, again, if it was limited access, so that, again, someone going to East Hampton would really be able to just continue without too many exits on and off. And it's something I think that was proposed, back in the early 70s, but did not get built. But now we are paying the price. So anyway, I wanted to thank Jay for that, and as I said, the county executive was very interested to explore that further. I would also like to speak to everybody about the Halsey House Gala that was held last Saturday night. That's part of our Southampton History Museum, the Halsey House being the oldest frame structure in the state of New York, and it was a great turnout and a great party. Again, I thank everyone for participating and contributing to its maintenance. We did get the replacement of the slate roof on Veterans Hall. That's been completed. It's authentic Vermont slate. It looks fantastic, and I'm glad that we could get that done. We are, no pun intended, slated to do the roof on the Southampton Arts Center in the fall, with, again, also an authentic slate roof at the front to match the historic slate roof that is there today. And then looking forward, on July 28th at 8:30 a.m., if anyone has an animal that they would like blessed at the Presbyterian Church on the corner of South Main Street and Meeting House Lane, they can show up again July 28th at 8:30 a.m. and have their animals blessed by Pastor Lent. And finally, another future thing, I just signed off today on a capital improvement for Downs Family Park. We are going to be installing a new playground up there with new equipment and new turf, and I even brought a sample of the turf. This is a synthetic turf.
Nice.
That looks a lot better than what used to be used as synthetic green turf. This almost is a little bit like real grass.
Very nice.
And just signed the POs for that today, and that will be installed in the fall. So we do have some great improvements coming to Downs Family Park, and all those who have young children that want to take advantage of a brand new playground, we will welcome you in the fall. And I'm hoping, Nancy, we will have a ribbon cutting. So I'm looking forward to that. And with that, I think I'm going to ask the board for a motion to adjourn this meeting and move into executive session to discuss legal and contractual matters. Sorry, you had a comment, sir. Sure. Don't usually do this, but because you're such a nice guy and you helped out Robin, I'm going to say yes.
Thank you. Just seconding Trustee Stevenson's comments about the Pillar Parade, it was just fantastic, and I enjoyed it. My children enjoyed it. My grandchildren enjoyed it. So it's a wonderful thing. I just one question though. This came up last year, and I thought it was just an aberration, but it happened again this year, and I'm just curious. I was surprised to see a small political element there, that a group representing the candidate RFK Jr. apparently marched in the parade. And when they did that last year, I thought they just crashed. And I just figured, they just moved in. But they were there again this year. So it's obviously some organized thing. And I would just, my own personal view is no matter what political persuasion it is or whatnot, the parade should not be a time for that kind of politics on anybody's behalf. I just was wondering what they were doing there, why they're there, and can we do anything to stop it in the future? Because I don't think any party should have representation at something like that.
I think we would have to consult with the Combined Veterans Organization that puts on the parade and ask them, again, how they vet the participants in the parade. Because, again, that's not done by the village. So we can certainly reach out to the Veterans Organization and ask them about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I thought, A, it was just weird generally, and B, I just thought that it is just kind of inappropriate to have any, and if that starts with that, then next year it could be several. It just doesn't seem, rather than go in that direction, I think we should go in the other direction and stop it.
No, I appreciate that. So we can reach out to, again, the Combined Veterans Organization and talk to them about that.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment. Again, but I would like a second to adjourn to executive session for legal and contractual matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you. It's 8:13 p.m. and the village board is coming out of executive session. We have one walk-on resolution to add at this time, and I'm going to make a motion that we add at this time. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'm going to turn to the village attorney to read the walk-on resolution.
The walk-on resolution says, whereas the village is interested in providing a cabana service at Cooper's Beach, And whereas the village clerk, Kathy Sweeney, trustee Robin Brown, and Cooper's Beach manager Matt Weeks have investigated the investment costs necessary to initiate a pilot program for the remainder of the 2024 season. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the expenditure of up to $5,500 to purchase 4 cabanas and initiate the pilot program.
All right, I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and with that, then I would like to make a motion to close this meeting of the Village Board of Trustees.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.